How is AI transforming the landscape of workplace wellness and leadership? This is a question I want to tackle with Eric Miquelon, President of Avanade's North American business. And with a wealth of experience driving partnerships and delivering innovative solutions alongside industry giants from Microsoft to Accenture, Eric brings a unique perspective on the role that AI plays in today's modern organisations. But I want to explore how AI is not only enhancing mental well-being and work-life balance, but also its impacts on leadership well-being by streamlining tasks, empowering leaders to focus on what truly matters, and improving productivity to preventing burnout. So with all that in mind, Eric's going to offer a glimpse into a future of a more balanced, AI-driven workplace. Before we welcome our guest onto the podcast today, though, delivering daily content to 140,000 of you wonderful monthly listeners across the globe is no small feat. I don't want to take all the credit here because it wouldn't be possible without the backing of our dedicated sponsors and partners. I also want to shine a light on the fact that legacy managed file transfer tools are dated and lack the security that today's remote workforce often demands. And companies that continue relying on that outdated technology often are in danger of putting their sensitive data at risk. So in the world of secure file transfers, Kiteworks stands alone with their FedRAMP moderate authorized since 2017. It is now known as the gold standard in MFT security. And with yearly audits and continuous monitoring, Kiteworks doesn't just meet standards, it sets them. For example, if you need CMMC compliance, Kiteworks fast-tracks your authorization, saving you both time and money. You can step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks today by visiting kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com to get started today. But now it's time to dive into today's fascinating conversation with my guest. So, are you ready to discover how technology can revolutionize the way we work and lead? Well, it's time to take you on a trip to Chicago, where Eric is waiting to share his insights today. So, a massive warm welcome to the show, Eric. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So, my name is Eric Miquelon. I am president of Avanade's North American business. Avanade is a large global systems integrator focused on Microsoft and its ecosystem of partners.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. One of the things I try and do every day is demystify some of those technologies that are out there at the moment. And obviously, at the moment, all anyone's talking about or seem to be talking about is AI. There'll be a lot of business leaders sat on the fence thinking, this is cool, but what does it mean to us? What are we going to do with it? And it can be hard to make sense of what that next move's going to be. So on this podcast today, I'd like to try and find out a little bit more about what you're doing at Avanade. So just to set the scene, how are you at Avanade leveraging AI to do things like monitor and improve mental well-being in the workplace? And also, what kind of impact have you seen on employee satisfaction and productivity as a result?
Well, I like to start with, we embrace using AI in our own day-to-day lives, as well as help our clients try to sort out their strategy and get the best in return on investment from AI. And for me personally, a big part is about automating, I'd say, a lot of manual tasks and trying to improve, the quality of time I spend working and actually free up more time to spend with my family and do things in my personal life. So I've got a 15-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. So I used to spend a couple hours in the evening summarizing email, and now something like a M365 Copilot can summarize those for me and give that time back to me. So I think, a lot of people, when they hear AI, they worry about it replacing jobs and other things. And obviously ethical AI will be very important. But I look at it as an opportunity to improve how smart we work, not just the amount of time that we work, or not just to add, additional quality or tasks or what have you. Some different examples of how we've used it internally. So our sales team has really been pioneering and leveraging Copilot now for several months. And 70% greater likelihood of fostering a creative approach to tasks, 40% increase in problem resolution. So 84% of the participants in our program said they felt a sense of accomplishment from the work that they're doing, and at the end of the study. So I think there really is some good examples about just using it to drive better productivity on a day-to-day basis.
And if we look back, 5 years ago, we saw this movement to working from home for all, almost overnight. And more recently, we've settled into this improving the future of work and moving to a more hybrid model of working. So in what ways do you see AI tools contributing to that better life balance, especially as remote and hybrid work models continue to lead the way? Because there's such a big topic and it impacts everyone. I mean, there's 4,000 or 5,000 miles between us here. We're probably having the same conversations.
First and foremost, I think there's an opportunity to really, again, take a look at some of the how we enable people, particularly those who might be newer entrants to the workforce. So when you think about where experience helps, it's oftentimes in our industry, it's learning business process, industry, how technology intersects with all of that. If you think about enabling industry-specific or job-specific copilots, you could take a relatively new university grad and equip them with a lot of information that allows them to be more productive faster. And I think as we look at, always the constant balance of work happening between cost-effective remote locations, whether those be in-country or in lower cost markets, there's always this question, particularly for the emerging workforce, around how relevant will they be? How do they compete with lower cost locations? So I think AI is just one example of a way to enable that group of people to be more productive, to add value quicker, to really kind of increase the value proposition of themselves. And so that's one quick example.
And I was chatting with someone recently from cybersecurity. They're talking about the burnout problem there, especially because nobody can seemingly switch off at 5 p.m. anymore. They're expected to answer those emails as they come in around the clock. And leadership well-being is a growing concern in every industry, especially in particularly demanding environments. So I'm curious, how do you see AI playing a role in helping leaders manage their responsibilities without burning out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think particularly if you operate in a global business where there's somebody on at some point in the time in the day, no matter where you are, where you're located. I really think that, there was the old adage, work smarter, not harder. I think that AI is a great example of working smarter. So again, it's about prioritizing the time you are spending working on the activities and tasks that are truly the most urgent, and the ones that will make the biggest impact given kind of your experience and skill level. For one simple example is, again, having AI summarize or automate, email tasks, creating presentations, sort of the day-to-day things that normally, for many people, can frustrate them, or maybe they're not great at doing it. And then they can reprioritize their time towards where their skills really make a difference.
And one of the many reasons I was excited to get you on the podcast today is the sheer number of high-profile partnerships that you have at Avanade. I'm not sure how much you can share here, but are you able to share any examples of how Avanade's partnership with the Microsoft and Accentures of this world are driving innovation in AI solutions for all your North American clients there? Is there anything you can share around that?
Yeah, happy to. So Avanade is actually partially owned by Microsoft. So we're a joint venture between Microsoft and Accenture. Our relationship with Microsoft has allowed us to have early access to a number of product features, product roadmaps, those sorts of things. So we've actually been working with Microsoft 365 Copilot since it was really in its alpha and beta forms. And so that's really helped us, number one, start by implementing it internally with our own functions to really see and measure the value it can create, to ask tough questions around security, data, privacy, also really understanding what it takes to be successful, such as modernizing your data estate. And, we started 18 months before Copilot was launched in our journey to really modernize our internal infrastructure to be able to take advantage of the tools. So there's just an example with Microsoft of sort of how the early access has really helped us, I think, to be in a position to lead the market in terms of advising our clients on the best way to take advantage of the opportunity of the technology.
And as you've been on board from the very early stages and been able to take advantages of these tools before many business leaders are listening, I suspect you are a little bit further along the road than many listening. So I'm curious, from what you're seeing here, as AI becomes more integrated into leadership strategies, Are there any challenges that you may have experienced or foresee coming in the future in maintaining a human-centric leadership while embracing technological advancements? Because I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of, hey, this technology is great, and almost sacrifice the human element. But of course, it's the AI and human alongside where the magic happens. But what are you seeing here?
Yeah, so first of all, ensuring that there's a focus on ethical AI is super important, I think, for any organization or any technology provider that's really serious about emerging into the AI space. There are certainly there is an opportunity for AI in the corresponding technologies to be misused. I've heard a great phrase from one of my clients recently that says, "Evil moves much faster than the pace of good." And so I think it's really important to have AI governance in place and AI strategy in place to understand how you're going to regulate the use of the technology. I think like any technology, without some form of control, governance, in some cases regulation, it can certainly lead towards unethical uses or otherwise difficult or behavior to then have to react to after the fact.
And I think for many business leaders listening, it's getting that balance right. That's what probably makes them just sit back and adopt a more cautious approach. And how do you ensure that AI solutions at Avanade are designed to not only improve efficiency, but also enhance that overall well-being of both employees and leaders and all the stuff we're talking about here? Is there anything you can share around how you managed to get that balance right?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, there has to be a conscious effort to not only improve the efficiency of your workers, but also to enhance the well-being and, again, maximize the outputs of the time that's spent. What I embrace as a leader, and I suggest that my clients do as well, is that your employees are likely to be experimenting and using AI no matter whether you have a governance strategy in place and an intention to manage it or not. And so ignoring it or trying to restrain it is really not going to be a viable long-term approach. You really have to embrace it and set the tone in the organization in terms of how to best take advantage of that, and really where are the boundaries of what you're comfortable doing and not doing. So it has the potential to accomplish mundane tasks, which can free up a lot of time for well-being. At the same time, it could have the opportunity to displace workers if your strategy isn't robust. And so I think it's really about understanding the change management that goes into it, the training, the education around it, as well as obviously just the core technology and implementation to make it effective.
And with the pace of technological change ramping up and we cautiously look ahead, how do you envision AI evolving in the context of leadership and workplace wellness over the months and maybe even years ahead? And are there any trends or developments that we should be particularly paying attention to?
Well, certainly, for starters, AI will continue to become more adept at personalization and providing those personalized solutions. And so, really focusing in on what this can mean to customize wellness programs, as an example, mental health resources. How can you really put the right information in the hands of your employees at the right time and be more intelligent, more personalized about it? I think this is something that, from a knowledge worker perspective, companies have been attempting to solve, at least for the last 25 years or so. And the technology is finally getting to a place where these scenarios or these business processes are actually cost effective to solve for, and the outcomes can be really positive. I think also, the trend of paying attention to where Copilots go around, again, being more industry specific, powered by more industry relevant data models. So I think there's quite a bit of innovation coming there. I think when you focus on what that means to customer experience is another way to look at it. So really, I think we've all probably interfaced with, call it sort of low intelligence chatbots and whatnot. The fidelity of those chatbots and the experience are really improving. And I think for companies, when you think about not only your internal employee experience, but your external customer experience, that will become sort of the de facto expectation of people. And so moving in that direction quicker than, or more quickly, I should say, is really going to be important to stay ahead of the competition.
And I think something else that unites both you and I, and indeed every single person listening all around the world, is this sense of real pressure on us all to be in a state of continuous learning. Now, someone right in the eye of the storm here, I've got to ask, where or how do you self-educate so you can keep up to speed with everything? Any tips or advice you can share around that?
Yeah, so I'm lucky to work with some really, really talented and intelligent people. I love to self-educate through conversations with our people in front of our clients. And then that usually will spark a series of questions or follow-up items that, using any kind of medium you can imagine, podcasts, certainly using ChatGPT and other functions to be able to interrogate and get answers to questions. And so it's that experiential learning for me that really seems to have worked the best for me over my life. I think others have their own different approaches, but that's what really has stuck with me.
Well, I suspect that for many people listening, they'll be following that advice, but also they may want to carry on the conversation we started today. We've only really just scratched the surface. So what is the best place for listeners to find you or your team online and ultimately find out more about anything we talked about today and, of course, the services you offer at Avanade?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us, obviously, at avanade.com. And I would encourage anyone who would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, Eric Miquelon, and would love to carry on the conversation.
Well, I'll have links to everything so people can find that nice and easily. And one of the things I loved talking about today was not just how AI is making a difference for Avanade and indeed all your customers, but talking about something we don't talk about enough, AI on mental well-being, how AI technologies can monitor and improve mental well-being in the workplace, and also help with that AI and work-life balance and combat leadership, some of the problems around well-being in the workplace that we're seeing as well. So many big talking points. I'd invite everyone listening to carry on this conversation. Email into the show and let me know your thoughts on how you're tackling these issues. But more than anything, Eric, thanks for starting this conversation today.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for having me.
So what will your leadership look like in an AI-enhanced world? As we've heard from Eric today, AI's impact on the workplace wellness and leadership is both profound and far-reaching, from, yes, automating routine tasks to enhancing mental well-being. AI can offer tools that can help us work smarter, not harder. But beyond the technology, I think Eric reminded us today of the importance of balance, governance, and most importantly of all, a human-centric approach to this transformation. And with all that in mind, how are you going to leverage AI to improve both your productivity and your team's well-being? How are you going to get that balance right? Because I think the future's here and it invites us all to rethink the way that we lead and the way that we thrive in our personal and professional lives. But over to you. Email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. So I will sit here patiently waiting for your replies and also prepare for tomorrow's guest. So if I don't hear from you before, I will speak with you all once again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.